good afternoon to you, Bobby. How the heck are you?
I'm doing well. I'm doing as well as you could after another 8:30 tip-off. But, hey, it's way better to win those than it is to lose them, that's for sure.
Man, you can say that twice and mean it. It's definitely worth it when you're staying up that late. Any idea of what is the catalyst for, Luka's improved focus last night, and what are the chances that he can make that a standard for his performances?
Man, I'm glad that he came out and said it so that I didn't have to say it. But, he focused on basketball. That's really all it is. We know that he's a very emotional guy. And look, OKC's been playing physical with him. The Mavs have been playing physical with Shea. It's been a grind of a playoffs. Before that, the Clippers were grabbing and scratching and clawing him, and it feels like Luka's been bleeding from his hand or his knee or his arm for 2 months straight now. But Luka just said, screw all that. I'm going to focus on basketball. I'm going to focus on cooking the guy in front of me, and he just did it. It was a night and day difference in terms of attitude and temperament and poise and composure and all of that stuff from Game 4 the other day. And, if he can maintain that kind of mindset and that kind of clarity and just focus on the moment, then, we know what he's capable of. He's one of the best players on earth. And, last night it just looked so dang easy.
I thought maybe after Game 3 they knew the Thunder couldn't figure out how to score on them enough, and maybe they got overconfident there in the second half of Game 4.
Yeah, Shea hit so many tough shots in Game 4. He had 30-something points, and he didn't make a single basket inside the paint. He is just unbelievable. But, and I kind of thought the same thing, too. I want to say 54-43 was your halftime score of Game 4. And I just was like, man, I don't know if OKC can score enough points to win another game this series. I just don't think they can. But they heated up a little bit from three, and they knocked down every single free throw they took, and the rest is history. So, the margins are still thin. But what I can, pretty confidently say now through 5 games is in a half-court setting, the Mavs defense has gotten the better of OKC's offense for sure. And, OKC through 5 games is still looking for a whole lot of answers, and they're running out of time to find them.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you, brought up the defense. Obviously, Oklahoma City 25% from 3, like their shots weren't falling, but how much credit do the Mavericks get on the defensive side of the floor? It seems like really ever since we know the deadline moves made a huge impact on them defensively, but Jason Kidd's got this thing dialed in right now. These guys are playing.
Yeah, Derek Jones Jr. is having an unbelievable playoff run. First Paul George and now Shea. And, it really feels like, there was an ESPN graphic last night. Apparently the Thunder shot 0 of 8 whenever Jones was guarding them. But it really feels like throughout this entire series, every single basket Shea has scored has been on somebody other than Derek Jones. Like, he's playing out of his mind. But, the Mavs have had defenders like him in the past. We know, though, this defense will really only be as good as your weakest link will allow it to. But Luka and Kyrie have been defending their tails off for, again, going back to that Clippers series. And they've had moments of weakness. They've had bad games or whatever, especially on offense. But the defense has been consistent, and it's been steady. To your point, last night, OKC, they were 10 for 40 from 3. 39 of those three-point attempts were either open or wide open based on, closest defender distance on NBA.com. And last night, OKC had their highest, expected effective field goal percentage. It was basically their best quality shots of the series, but they didn't knock them down. So that could be either a little cause for concern and say, hey guys, job's not finished yet. Maybe they found something by replacing Josh Giddey in the starting lineup, or it could just mean, look, they're getting good shots and they're still not making them. Maybe we're in their head or whatever. I don't really know what it is, but OKC did generate a whole lot of good looks last night, especially from the three-point arc. The Mavs are going to have to tighten up the screws on that a little bit heading into Game 6. But, they've done so well throughout most of the series that I do have confidence they'll be able to, maintain this level of defensive intensity.
Does it feel like we're seeing the maturation process in real time of Derek Lively? Just from the start of the postseason to now, it seems like we're dealing with a slightly different player. He's just so active and all over the place.
Yeah, he was unbelievable last night. Earlier in the season, and really through most of the season, including most of the Clippers series, he's kind of just hung out around the rim, shot blocker, intimidator, rebounder, that sort of thing. But he's switching out, stepping out on the perimeter, guarding guys like Shea, guarding Jalen Williams, guarding smaller, quicker players, and holding his own. He is barely ever getting beat off the dribble by smaller, faster guys, and that really it gets me excited spinning it forward, thinking about like, man, in 2 or 3 years, can he be the next kind of like Nick Claxton, Bam Adebayo kind of big that can guard any position on the floor and just dominate? I mean, I don't know what his ceiling is, but I do know that if he keeps defending like this, then, I mean, this Mavs defense is going to be really, really good for a long time because, I mean, it just unlocks so many things. He brings like the best qualities of Daniel Gafford and also in this event, the best qualities of Maxi Kleber. You got one guy that can do both. I mean, that's pretty dang awesome.
Yeah, more questions about the defense here for Bobby Karalla, Jones. My question here, is he going to be one and done? How aggressive will they need to be to keep him? Do they have that already in a mid-level exception or something like that? And how crucial to you is it that they do bring him back next year?
I think it's really important, unless they believe that Josh Green and, further down the depth chart, Omax Prosper can take big steps forward. There's really nobody else in this roster that can do what Jones does defensively and offensively for that matter. He only shot something like 34% from three, which is slightly below league average, but I mean, he's running the break. He's getting putback dunks. He's attacking off pick and rolls in 4-on-3 situations. Like, he's been so valuable at both ends of the floor. Going into this offseason, a lot of it obviously is subject to other roster moves and stuff. But right now, the Mavs only have the taxpayer mid-level exception, which is, it kind of varies, but it's somewhere between like $5 and $6 million, I want to say. Whereas other teams will have like the full mid-level exception, which is, roughly double that. Or just cap space to offer him. And so, if he keeps playing like this, then obviously he's going to raise a lot of eyebrows around the league. But there was an article in The Athletic that Tim Cato wrote, I think it was published yesterday before the game started, or maybe the day before, where Jones said, I want to be here. I want to stay in Dallas, and the Mavs have kind of been the first team throughout his career that have really figured out his ideal role at both ends of the floor, and Jones has thrived in it. So hopefully they can get a deal done. But I mean, man, if you're shutting down like Paul George and James Harden and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, like he's made a big name for himself in a hurry during this postseason so far.
Bobby, it's maybe not one of those things that move the needle, but you saw Jalen Hardy get opportunity. Is that because of what's going on with Exum? Are they just trying to find any kind of offense or defense or spark? I know that it might be one of those things that Exum had done so well for them at the throughout the year, but is it now just like, is it going to be Hardy throughout the rest of the playoffs?
Yeah, we'll see. In this series against OKC, with the way they defend, they're real rangy. They're playing the passing lanes. They're real aggressive with their help. I think that quickness is prioritized. You think of like Josh Green's impact in this series. Obviously, Kyrie. These guys are able to keep it in like a half-court setting. The Mavs want to control the pace. They don't want this to be like a back-and-forth kind of affair. But within the half-court, you have to be able to move quick to get around these OKC defenders. And we saw Hardy do that a couple times early in the game. Get past his man. He finished at the rim one time. He had a couple lob passes where he was able to break down the defense or attack in those 4-on-3 situations. And, Dante, for as steady as he was in the regular season and for as good of a shooter as he was in the regular season, quickness isn't really like the thing he's known for. He's more he plays more at Luka's pace, I'll put it that way, as opposed to Kyrie's pace. And so, maybe it was just looking for a spark. Maybe J-Kidd was testing the waters a little bit, but I thought Hardy played pretty well. He missed a couple jumpers, but that's going to happen. Off the bench, I think another reason maybe is, look, I mean, Luka and Kyrie's scoring numbers for the most part have been down. And so off the bench, you're looking for anybody that can give you 10 points in a hurry. Tim Hardaway had a good game 2. Josh Green had a pretty good game 2 in game 3. But that's kind of it. You need a little more pop off the bench. And so I think J-Kidd is maybe seeing what Hardy was, capable of. And if the Mavs are able to advance, then I think it'll kind of depend on obviously the opposition and what they need. But I thought he held his own at both ends of the floor. So, I would expect to see him out there again in game 6.
Bobby, I'm glad you brought up Kyrie, and it's Bobby Karalla with us here in the GBag Nation. But Kyrie's got point totals of 9, 9, and 12 now in the series. And if you look at some of the other things that he's doing on the floor, it's not that he's playing bad, but I'm curious your assessment offensively of how Kyrie's doing right now against Oklahoma City. And is that something that can carry over, or just maybe a situational based on the opponent type of deal?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is the way they're defending him. They're double teaming him a lot, and not even like coming off a screen. I mean, sometimes they're just sending another guy his way. And Kyrie is a lot like Luka and a lot like guys like Jokic and LeBron, where he can get a good shot for himself pretty much anytime he wants, but he's going to prefer the great shot for his teammate over the good shot for himself. And OKC is they're not really double teaming Luka at all when Kyrie's in the game. So they're turning Luka into a scorer, which means they need a facilitator. And so Kyrie's assist numbers throughout most of the series have been pretty high, higher than they were in the regular season. He's had 11, I think he had 9, and another game with 8. And so he's looking to table set for other guys, but, we'll see. I think, most teams aren't going to want to double Kyrie. They're going to want to double anyone that's going to be Luka, and then Kyrie can attack in all that space. OKC is doing it the other way around, which for my money is the first time I've seen that ever happen to the Mavs, where we're going to double team one of Luka's teammates instead of Luka. I just cannot remember that ever happening before. And if the Mavs are able to advance and go to the next round, whether they're facing Minnesota or Denver, I'm not sure we're going to see those teams double Kyrie, in that event. So maybe Kyrie will have to shift back into scorer mode. But, as it stands right now, OKC is saying, hey, we have to pick our poison when facing the Mavs, and we're going to pick Luka over Kyrie. We're going to let Luka try and get 30, and we're going to try and hold Kyrie under 15 or 20. And, it worked in game 1, and it kind of worked in game 4. But, hey, I mean, you're not keeping everybody off the score sheet. So, we'll see if they do it that way again in game 6, or if Kyrie's finally able to get it going a little bit.
What's the highlight play from last night in your mind? I mean, Luka had that one shot where he thought he was fouled. It still goes in early in the game, and it was like, oh my gosh, that was crazy. And then you have the 3/4 court alley-oop situation very casually. You have Derek Jones Jr. blocking a three-pointer where he's like under the rim when Chet Holmgren's going up to shoot the basketball. There were so many highlight plays last night.
Yeah, that's my one. Jones blocking a 7-footer's three-point attempt and then leaking out and getting the dunk. And at that point in the game, it was like early or maybe midway through the fourth quarter. Yeah. It was still it was a ball game at that point, and it was kind of crunch time. OKC was making a push, and then Jones just swats that thing out of midair. He is unbelievable, man, with the way that he can do that and turn defense into offense. I mean, that was just a massive, massive play.
The funniest play though is the final 30 seconds of the first quarter. THJ and his willingness to shoot a shot that is the worst miss you've ever seen, get the ball back, and then jack up another one that doesn't hit the rim.
Hey, at the end of the day, basketball is entertainment. And that was pretty entertaining.
Yeah, hey, the 2 3-point air balls from Lou Dort in the second half were pretty awesome.
I love that.
When the big strong guy shorts it is hilarious.
Yeah.
There have been a lot of air balls in the series by both teams. These are two of the best shooting teams in the NBA, and there have been some horrifying misses. So, my God, I mean, let's tighten the screws a little bit, boys.
Well, for the Mavs, let's hope OKC keeps missing all those.
Yeah, exactly.
What do you think about the other series, though, with Minnesota and Denver?
Man, wild swings. God, it looked like Minnesota was about to waltz their way to the finals, but Denver is a beast, man. I mean, Nikola Jokic he's reminding everybody what he's all about, and Jamal Murray looks healthier again. I don't know how Minnesota's going to be able to get it done, but I guess, as a Mavs homer here, I'd prefer that series to go to a grueling 7th game. So we'll see, but man, if Denver's playing like this, it's going to be so tough to beat them. But hey, someone's got to do it, right? So why not let it be the Mavs?
Is Luka healthy again? What did he say anything last night? There was a lot less limping.
Yeah, he looked physically better. He looked faster. He looked more kind of calm and controlled and everything. There wasn't as much limping or anything. But dude, I mean, they showed his list of maladies before tip-off, and it was like he's got 5 or 6. He looks like a hockey player. He's got 5, 6 injuries going on right now. So. All the more reason why winning Saturday would be so huge, because game 1, whether they go to 6 or 7, game 1 is next Wednesday. So if you can win on Saturday, wrap that thing up, you have all day Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday to get more treatment and get closer to 100%. But if you go to 7, you're playing game 7 on Monday night, and then you got to turn around and play 48 hours later. So I'm not into that. That's not really my thing. So hopefully they can win it for Luka.
Well, you're doing a hell of a job covering this thing. I know you're having a blast, Bobby. We appreciate you joining us so much. Is there anything else about this matchup that we forgot to ask you about before we let you go?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I know this series has been a lot about Luka versus Lou Dort and Shea versus Derek Jones, but watching Derek Lively's been a treat, man, for everything that guy has going on and off the floor. He is just playing out of his mind right now, and I'm just like, God, for as excited as I am to get to watch Luka and Kyrie play basketball every night, like just watching Derek Lively's just been unbelievable, and hopefully he can keep it going.
Amen. Enjoy the ride, sir. We'll catch up with you soon.
Hey, thank you guys. I appreciate you.